I'm telling you, around our wedding, and when we decided that, hey, the backlash, I don't think there was even his close friends, were sitting down with me and telling me, Joanne, are you serious? Are you pregnant? What is it? Like, he's at his peak of his career, but you are just starting out. When you get to the peak of your career, you will change your mind. So think twice. Things like those, like people telling you that. And I like it because when someone tells me those things, then I am able to receive it and say, I actually want to do this. Because of what you said, because when I'm in...
Proving them wrong.
Yes, when I'm in my peak of my career, I want someone like this to support me. And for me, I say that was a gamble. Like I think it's the biggest risk I've ever made in my life. Me. When being young, like that's, so it was 21, so I got married when I was 22. That was 2015, so we are turning 10 years this year. And because it could have easily gone wrong, Trisha.
Yeah.
Like I always say, there's nothing special about my marriage that I did out of... Like, I don't know, I don't think I did anything to say that I have withheld the marriage. All this is just God's grace and God's favor that it just happened to be the right union, because I've been with friends who are with marriage, because being in 10 years, like I've met many friends in marriage. Some of them did not work. Some of them, they're working. Some of them, they're working, but they're really struggling, And not saying that our marriage is perfect, that we don't have the struggles, but... I honestly say that, like, it was a big risk that up to today, God has proved us wrong or right. Like, we've just seen the hand of God.
If anything, God has proved himself faithful.
Exactly.
That's what I always say.
There's nothing we can say it was our own doing. Nothing completely. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So you get married at 22 to a pastor. Become the first lady, the youth pastor's first lady. How was that journey for you?
Gosh.
Being the realities of now being a pastor's wife, because I think it's one thing being outside and being friends and observing everything from outside. It's another whole totally different story when you're inside, and the heaviness and the weightiness of the reality of being a pastor's wife.
So funny thing, I think the road to marriage for me was harder than now being married.
Because of the resistance and the backlash.
The resistance and the backlash and the things that we were just hearing. Like even people who, you thought, for example, are your friends, or even women you thought are rooting for you, would come and tell my husband, hey, I have a daughter. Why are you marrying this woman? And it's maybe our wedding. And it's a true story. Our wedding is on a Saturday. On a Tuesday, this woman comes and says, my daughter, I have my daughter. Why are you marrying this woman? Marry my daughter. At least she's a high-flying corporate career person or something like that. And going through that, that is like...
Because you are not really also a typical pastor's...
I was not. And my upbringing
category wife.
No. And that's, I think, that was the biggest problem.
The backlash of the church. Yeah, because the church wants to pick the wives for, especially youth pastors and these young pastors. The church wants to have a voice in terms of who they marry. So it's not their own independent choice. So they get a lot of backlash based off on their own personal choice.
And being in a church where my parents were not even attending, like, because it's a community church. Community churches, you'd see like my mom was attending, then us, and like that. So me, I was just standing alone.
Where's your family? What's the history of your family? What's the church history of your family?
Who are you? And there are even people who went to even do research. Like, where has she come from? Like, I would get calls from someone like, I've just had a call with someone who's asking, who are your parents? Where are they? What do they do? Because they had, and true to it, like they had to do the background because it's their son, right? And it's because my husband was the pastor's child of their previous pastor, all that. It is fine, but that checking the outward mostly, because they didn't know me. And that's the benefit that I was saying, like they don't know me because they did not notice that I even existed until this moment. And yet I was existing. Like there's someone who asked, Joanne, we just started hearing about you, that you're getting married to a pastor, but where have you been? I'm like, but I've been in this church. But I've been serving in this church for like years. What do you mean you don't know me? But saying you don't know me is, we don't know who you are. We don't know your parents. We don't know You are one of the
You've
strangers.
not been raised in this church.
You've not been raised in this church.
You
And
just
when
appeared.
parents are talking, your parents are not there. Like, we don't hear about you. So anyway, that road to marriage was the hardest. It was hard because many people as well were trying to talk us down from that decision. So it was more of, what are we hearing from God?
Your husband was older than you. Did your parents ever have an issue with you getting married to someone older?
No.
Okay.
Because, I mean, one benefit, which is not a good benefit, is that how out of touch my parents were with my life. Because if it's calling, watoto wamekula, have the children eaten, or do you have enough? Guys, we've not sold enough. So it's like our life was a lot such that we didn't have that personal, like, Dad, there's this guy I'm dating, or no. So I don't think I think for them it was more of, because I think even where I was in my life, getting someone who was around my age, I don't think they would understand the context of the things that I was going through. I had already matured faster than the people in my age group because of my upbringing and the responsibilities. So marrying someone who's older than me, he understood. He got it. He got that I am not after.
That was your perfect match.
Exactly. He got it. And now, even being now 10 years, like every single year, like, it just proves that you are the person. You are the one who needed to walk with me in this journey. Because then of finishing the upbringing bit, getting into my career bit, and now unlearning and relearning who Joanne truly is.
Consistently,
because he's been
through those different
seasons. He's been very patient with me through these seasons. That, okay, now we are changing. You're now a new person, Joanne. He's like, I'll walk with you in this journey. What do you want to do? How can I help you? You want to travel? Go. You want to have fun with your friends? Because he also recognizes that there's a step in my life that I missed. There's a stage that I missed, and he's like, do you want to go out with your friends? Go.
Yeah, that's the challenge of many women are experiencing who get married really young, 21, 22. Because then you get into your 30s or late 20s and you realize, my gosh, when my friends were partying and going out and doing all these things, I was a whole wife, and now you get to a stage where you start almost reliving those moments, your prime years when you had all this energy and feeling like, I need to live them out.
Yes.
And many people do, in one way or another, it manifests. And you realize, yes, you're a whole mother, you have kids, you have all these things, but it's almost a stage that somehow at one point in life, whether in your 40s or in your 50s, you'll have to relive those moments.
Yes. So that has been my story in terms of how he's not, like, how when we tick the box of the perfect husband, sometimes it doesn't look like the guy who's going to give me the money and which is important. Financial security is very important, but it's more of for me, it was because I have been empowered by my parents to get that financial security, and it gives me so much purpose to be able to have that financial muscle and helping other women get that financial muscle, because I've seen with my mom, with my grandma, with even women I've worked with, like I've worked with so many women that I have seen them in lack. And when they have the resources, how much change they're able to drive. And even just having a voice to say, I will stay or not. I will eat chips versus chicken. I will, that voice that when you don't have, if someone says you're going to eat rice, you will have to eat that rice. Or the choice of, I'm in a harmful marriage. What can I do? And making the choice to leave is expensive. Are you able to sustain that choice? Because sometimes you've gotten into the marriage, the guy is financially abled, but then you realize, oh my gosh, there was much more to this than the finances. It is, how am I feeling on a day-to-day? Why am I getting like signs of violence and all that? But then because you do not have the choice to live, and I feel like financial freedoms gives you the choice to create a better life for you and for your children. And that's a lot where, like, I've seen me seeing my mom firsthand, right? The traumas that you had to go through and all. And I've seen her when she doesn't have any money versus when she actually has the money, and the change we've seen. Like, she would give my son, not my son, I'm calling him my son, my brother, money to go to school, and all that. So I strongly believe that a woman can be capable of many things, but making a life out of her life by not just existing, but trying to create change wherever she is. Is it through like that financial freedom? Is it through social impact? Is it through, and there are many amazing husbands out there who are willing to walk this journey versus giving the husband the full pressure of I need this kind of life, and you need to figure out how you're gonna make it.
Say that again, because I think right now we live in a culture where every woman is, which I believe, as you said, financial freedom gives women a sense of security. And that's why many women right now, they can never date a broke guy. It's like, he broke, not for me, And even women who've established themselves and gained that financial freedom for themselves, for them, they're just like, a broke guy is a no-no, which to some extent,
makes sense.
It makes sense, and there has to be a balance in the conversation because obviously, what's the reason behind him being broke? What is he doing with his life? There's a whole lot of questions to unpack with that. But I think right now we live in a culture where every girl wants to be a baby girl, So you find a guy, yes, he's working, yes, he's ambitious, but just he's not earning that 6-figure or 7-figure salary. And because of that, hajatosha mboga, it's not enough, So I don't know what you'd say to those women who, for them, they've set this standard of if a man isn't living a certain lifestyle and earning a certain salary with all these investments going on, then obviously just stay away.
Well, and I said having finances for a family and a home is very important because I mean that's how the world works with the finances. But what I emphasize is that it's not the only thing. For example, if you see, like if you have an ambitious person and you can tell some things that you can tell that this guy, he's ambitious, he's in a career and he's growing. And
he's putting in the work.
He's putting in the work. And there are others where you're like, this guy has been hustling for 10 years. And that hustle is not hustling.
Yeah, but they're always hustling.
They're always hustling.
Waiting for a deal.
For money, for
there's a deal. There's a deal I'm waiting for.
There's a deal, and then you're coming to ask me all the time.
Borrowing money.
God,
that's a red
and
flag.
all that. So it's important to even ask God for wisdom of discernment, that God, tell me who I can grow with. Because let me tell you, being married, the years I've gotten married, there are times when he has the job, I don't have the job.
Yep.
I am trying to figure out, like, I am setting up a nonprofit, I want to set up a business, I want to, all that. And it helps when one partner is risk-taking in terms of figuring out, while the other partner is
holding the weight,
holding the fort. And then another season where we came to Dubai, I had the job. He left his job in Kenya. We are coming to Dubai. He doesn't have a job. There was a lot of like a confusion there, like, okay, gosh, what is this and all that. But then little did we know he got the job. Then now I was able to be free and start my business in Dubai and help women because that's what I am passionate about, So it's more of those seasons that even though now, because if you're going in dating and wanting to have a financial independent man, life happens when you'll get married, and maybe that's not always the case.
The ebbs and flows of marriage and the seasons of, especially seasons of finances in marriage. And I think that's the reality for many people. I believe I can host here, 10,000 married people, and they will tell you that's a fact in marriage. There are seasons where it's the man who's making more. There are seasons where it's the woman making more. Like, that's just the reality of the ebbs and flows of finances in marriage and life. Yeah.
And so if you're going in as that is the number one factor, then you get married. Then in marriage, your marriage is shaken.
Yeah, somebody loses their job.
Exactly, because you never know, like the economy, you don't know, COVID happens again, your business shuts down.
Or like Trump decides.
Exactly,
we've withdrawn.
Such projects. And then what? And then what
happens?
Yeah. So for me, it's more of how can I empower you as a wife, you as even a stay-at-home mom, you as a girl, to stand on your feet financially, doing what you love. Because then, me working in different companies, I've worked from global corporations to helping rural small businesses, and seeing the principles of businesses are almost alike, and they've been changing over and over, because with tech, with AI, with all this that are coming up, we need to stay woke, and we need to put in the work to get out of it. So
and keep evolving.
what are you creating out of your life that you're just not existing to wake up and watch Netflix and all that? Because I believe
because you're a baby girl. Your husband is gonna bring in the money.
Exactly. And even from the Bible, like we see, even from the Bible and creation, humans were created to work. Humans were created to work. And so how can I empower a woman to work and not just sit? Because then when you don't have a plan B, what is the fallout plan? When your plan B 6-figure guy loses his job or becomes sick or one way or another, like I know there are two things that can make someone from up come down: sickness and maybe prison. You overstayed, I don't know your visa, I don't like things like those. Then
or
you
even
end up,
death.
or even death.
The main
What
factor,
will you do
life is not a constant
with your life? Exactly. And so knowing, and also I don't know if you've experienced this, like for example, being with a mom or a grandma who has some money. Like you go there and you're like, Daddy, I said I want the shoes, I want the shoes, I want the shoes. Daddy says I don't have money for the shoes. You just see somewhere here, they remove and put in your hand.
or in a lesson somewhere.
Or in a lesson. And you'd see them holding forth first of all that, no, ask your dad. Ask your dad. Or you don't have school fees, ask your dad, ask your dad. And then a little, don't we know, we just see someone go and don't say I gave you, you know. And some of those things were like, but women from, even our old women, they knew that there's a lot of choice that you can have when you're financially stable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I want us to talk through your journey. I feel like we touched a bit about your journey being a wife. You mentioned how it was more hectic getting into marriage, but there's that reality of what how life how life panned out, being a pastor's wife, and the weightiness and the expectations of the church, and then your transition now coming to Dubai. I think that's a critical part of your journey which we need to unpack and talk through.
So I really enjoyed being a pastor's wife.
Being a people's person, we bless the Lord. Otherwise,
being a people's person. Yes. I love the Lord.
Wives who are not people's person, it's usually a very
I see them
negative reputation. You know, with the church, they're like, oh yeah, she never says hi to people. She never, you know. Yeah, but it's a good thing that you are a people's person, and ideally, that's the ideal picture that people expect of a pastor's wife.
I am a people's person. I told you I'm driven by love.
Yes.
Like I just love people. Even sometimes, even there are people who've hurt me really bad. But now, like in my inbox, we talk, we connect, and many people say, Joan, how are you able? Why are you letting them take advantage of you or something like that?
Why are you letting them back in?
Why are you letting them back in? Why are you giving them the energy and the time? You know, because of that, when I started, I said, because I was loved, the most undeserving love. Who am I not to love someone else? Because even with life, you see, like, I am not my judge or my vindicator. God is. There's nothing I can do to them to say that you did A, B, C, D. But life's ups and downs, God takes people through things that you're like, okay, then why was I even hating in the first place or something like that? And I have many of those people, like we talk, we discuss, I even pray for them, like, what's up, what's happening in your life? That if I told like my close friends, they'd be like, Joanne, we told you, you know. But I have been proved over and over again that if you lead with love, because that's the God way of leading, it's much more sustainable than leading with fear. Because many people, and hate. Because many people think the true leadership is when people fear you. When you walk into a room, people fear you. But I strongly don't believe in that. I believe that there's a space for love in this world. So I really enjoyed being a pastor's wife, and it was a lot because
you still do, because you're still a pastor.
Yes, he was a pastor. But then I'm also a corporate woman. Yeah. And so I used to, like Monday to Friday, I'm working. Saturday and Sunday is church things. Sunday work ends at like 11 p.m. And Monday I'm working, but Monday is off for pastors, you see. And so now trying to see how do I balance all this. And I think I enjoyed it because it was more like an outlet versus the main thing I was doing. Like it was after getting off from the office and working, I can go and be with people, and that I enjoyed doing. So there's that but because I don't know if I was a truly full pastor's wife, like if it was, that would have been the same story. But then where I really struggled is now we are married 2015, 2016, no children, 2017, no children, 2018, no children. People are asking, hey, you're not giving our pastor a child? What's happening, And that being a pastor through childlessness, pastor's wife through childlessness, was now has been my hardest season of life to date. Leave COVID, leave everything, leave motherhood. That, where now, I used to go to church, and on Sundays, I would cry so, I'm okay Monday to Saturday. Sunday, tears, because the amount of people who are asking, someone comes, touches my stomach and starts praying for it, someone, and not knowing the struggle behind the scene, not knowing the money that is being spent to do, I don't know, fertility drugs, I don't know what, all those things, not knowing the losses in terms of miscarriages and all. And someone just ignore, and I know they were doing it out of love because they don't know. But then for me, that, because now it would make even now the childlessness become even worse. Because then I used to cry. And I'm just saying, if, for example, the day I get my period, it would be tears in our home because we've spent so much money. I don't know, you're told day 2 take this, day 5 take this, day 7 take this, I come day 10, you pay. Day what you pay. So you spend so much money between the month in gynecological visits and all that. And each visit you have to pay, you have to take medicine after that and all. And getting, for example, my periods, you're like, oh gosh, another month, another investment, another, And it used to bring me so much pain now, hearing now from church women that, okay, Joan, what's happening? What are you planning? And so it got to a point where now, I couldn't handle that pressure because I have pressure at home. I have and even my mom-in-law, I really love that woman because she's such a sounding board and she's been a sounding board in our lives. She's a prayer warrior completely. She's a pastor's wife as well. And she has really taught me the power of prayer, the power of patience, even just that love. Because you see, now I had an absent mom in most of my life. So having her present and seeing her presently mother her children has really taught me a lot, even in my motherhood journey. And one day she just sat down, and my husband and the dad, and they just told me, you know what? Don't ever think in this family we've given you any pressure to get a child. If it's pressure you feel, it's from the society, but it's not in this home.
Wow.
God brought you to this home. Exactly. God brought you to this home to be a wife of this home. And we accepted you. And so if he said he brought you without the children, we accept that. Wow. If he said he will give you a child, which she always had that faith that you will get a child. You will get a child. I will be born. But he said, and even though it does not happen, we will glorify God. So do not ever go outside saying, I was pressured by my husband or my mom-in-law or my dad-in-law. And that was really liberating to hear, because then I was like, okay, then it's the society that is giving me this pressure, right? And me now putting it to myself as an achiever, it's like a goal I need to achieve, not knowing that some of these goals are not in our control. You can control if you get an A or a B in class, but you cannot control some of these life things. If you get the right partner or not, if you get a child or not, all these things are things that you
get married at a certain age
or not. Exactly. All these things are things that you need to trust a higher power, because no one can control it. Yes. And so that was the hardest part of me being a pastor's wife, going through these spaces and you have our pastor, you have how many children? Yeah. You're like, I've not even introduced myself. You just want to spoil my day. Things like those. But God really taught me a lot through that season, because then now, learning to heal from that and look back with love and say, you know what, these people did not mean any ill intention. Maybe they were praying for me. Because then now, it got to a point where I told my husband that I can't stand going to church on a Sunday because of these comments and these people, because it's going to just ruin my whole week. So can you drop me in this church as we go, like, because we used to live in a place called Tendigwa, can you drop me in Mamlaka Hill? I go to church, and then you go to church and come and pick me. Or I can just take a taxi back home. So that's how we used to stay. Now, the later years, just before he left the church, because now it didn't make sense that I am in a church where my wife does not enjoy going to, and does not love being, because I really loved being in the church, and I really loved playing the role of a pastor's wife there, because it was the community, which I even miss now. Because those things, like, for example, on a random Friday, we are going for a graduation, or a Saturday, we are going to open someone's house and celebrate with a family, or an evening where we are with people who are mourning. In Dubai, life is a lot, like, we don't do a lot of that here. And I really miss that. The care. Yes.
Both care and just joy.
Exactly.
Being there for people.
Yeah. So I think just going through that, and now later on getting into being called for a job in Dubai.
So did he pause? So now at this point, you guys are going to different churches. You're going to Mamlaka, him is going to work.
How church work.
Where it's his work and his place of ministry.
Yes.
Did he...
So he decided to take a sabbatical first and say, okay, I don't know what this is, but even him, he doesn't feel that, like, he feels like God is saying something. Because you see now, like I always say, when things are working out right, like windows are opening, doors are opening, those are signs that, yes, I need to be here. Then when things start shutting down, when things are just not working out, we're like, God, are we forcing things? Because I don't believe things for God are forced. Things for God are, like, when he opens the doors, like, and I think you can attest this, like, when things open up, they open up. But there are times when things are closed and shut, and you're wondering, why when I look at this side, rejection. When I look at this side, no. When I look at this side, no. God, what is it? And so that phase in life, like now, it's not working out. He needs to go back to school. I don't know what, all those things. It's like, now can we just pause and say, what does God want us to do now? And so, of course, in prayer and all, we decided that, because we were doing missions, we were doing rural missions and ministry, where we ran short-term mission trips to rural communities. So he would go be with his pastors, and me, I would be there with women, training them on business principles that are Christian-led. And that's where we felt we needed to be. With people in these communities. We go, we sleep with them, we stay with them there, and we just do that kind of work. So he took a sabbatical and said, you know what? Sometimes when you're lost, the best place to get lost in is when serving others.
The best way to find yourself
is serving others. Exactly. And so that's what we did. We got in, and the church was very gracious, because they were like, are you guys sure? Are you guys 100% sure? Because your wife is running a nonprofit. We have, like, friends and family support. And then you want to leave the job that you guys have. Like, we will work with you. Because you've been with us for 11 years as a pastor, we will work with you guys until when you figure out what next. So they would say, we will send you some amount because you guys do missions work in Kenya, pay your rent, and tell us if you need anything. And that, like, not leaving the church from a place of heart, but from a place of they sent us and they released us well, that has really shaped even up to today, because that's still our home church. And that's still where we go when we go back home. Yeah. So we did missions work and all. And
for how long?
So I was in a break for around 2 years. So I did 1 year missions work, and then I went back to school as well to do a postgraduate in social innovation management, so that I'm able to build a sustainable organization, the nonprofit called Lulu Thamani. And so he joined, I think, the second year when I was out. And so during that second year, finally, the gynecologist, we got a really good gynecologist who told us, you know what, whatever you guys have, you would need special medical care. You would need a lot of investment to be able to get that child. And having that, you know how you can go to hospital for years, but you're not getting why. What is the problem?
Yeah, and it's frustrating.
It is very frustrating, very.
Because it's a heavy investment without returns.
You don't know, like you're like, okay, I'm taking the drugs and then I'm taking the, okay, and then.
And they're expensive.
And then, exactly, I'm getting pregnant, but it's not staying. And then, so at this specific time, and some of these things, it's all, like looking back, it's all in God's plan. Because he had to wait until that point to get us to this specific doctor who said, I'll do the test. I'll send them to India and bring them back and tell you what is wrong with you guys. And they found that I needed to be like on blood thinners and all that. And those things are not even things that are covered by insurance in Kenya. At least then, I don't know now. So at that point now we're like, okay, will this, because the church was also giving us insurance. So now will this insurance be able to help us through, or what do we need to do? So one thing that now we decided was, okay, maybe, because now talking to insurances and we needed to get our own insurance. For you to be covered for maternity, you have to have paid the insurance for 1 year. The second year is when they'll cover you. If you get pregnant this first year, they won't cover you for birth. So someone from the insurance just told me, but just get a job to get the cover, because if you get a job today, you're going to be covered from tomorrow. Even though, and now that you know the problem, at least now you have hope that you can get pregnant within the next few months. And so then I'm like, okay, do I need to go back to corporate? And I said, I'll never go back to corporate. I want to do purpose work. I want to help women to set up businesses and run even businesses. Yeah. So I started looking for jobs. I sent CVs here. I sent here, there, everywhere. And so this company that I had applied in 2016 sent me an email in 2019. And in 2016, just before I graduated college, that's when I applied for it. And because then 2016, I had joined a company called GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, in Kenya, a pharmaceutical. And I wanted to be an intern at one of the best global corporations, Procter & Gamble. So I sent an internship application. They didn't even respond to my email. They didn't do anything. And I even forgot I applied, because you apply for so many jobs before you get it. So in 2019, I get an email from Procter & Gamble. Hey, we saw your application. Do the assessment. I'm like, okay. So I did the assessment. And even when I was talking to my husband, we're like, but you can't go back to corporate, because just now is when we are doing a lot of purposeful work in Kenya. But I'm like, but we need the children. Like, let's try and see if we get the insurance. Now that we know the problem, we will be able to get children. And so in the middle of the interviews, I discover, you applied in Kenya, but this job is in Dubai. I'm like, We told my mom, and there's no Dubai you're going. You're not going anywhere, because guys, now is when you've started living like he's left the work. Now you're living like you said you're just living. Exactly. Yeah. But we said, okay, let's go. Because at that point we were thinking of moving from Nairobi to go somewhere. Is it Malindi? Is it Bungoma? Is it like where we have centers, just to establish our work and just to be there, away from the city and away from all this, and just to heal. But God had greater plans. At that specific time now, I did the interview. I think I did 6 or 7 interviews, and they moved me to Dubai. And up to today, that is a testimony that I cannot explain with my mouth how that happened, because I was in a career break. So the interview questions were more of, I work in an organization called Lulu Thamani. I raise funds for women to do businesses, all that. And they're like, we come and work for us. And being in such a organization with such a global footprint really taught me how to rethink how businesses run, rethink the strategies of even branding and marketing and just leadership. They say it's like the MBA of marketing, being in that company. And I really appreciated the opportunity. And when we came, my husband said, I'll move with you, I'll support you. I said, I'll support the day for your dad. Your dad is not here for me to prove to him, but I said, I'll support your journey. And his friends even talked against that move, because you're an African man. So this clearly shows
you'll be jobless.
And then, there's, when you're in Kenya, if a wife is thriving more than the husband, it's hard to tell. But this is clearly, you're going to a job
foreign country,
that the wife is the one who got the job. So you are following her. That was a big thing, because now coming here at home, it's pastor here. No one knows you. No one knows us. And so it's more of, God really needed to refine us and make us heal and just let us just be. Because then now we used to go to church, sit at the back and just listen to God speaking to us, being disciple, joining 242, like small groups, without saying who we are. We just say we do missions and all that. Because we like now looking back, we really needed that time to just step back. Yeah. My friend keeps on saying, and I keep on saying this a lot, like when you step back, you jump further. Sometimes you need to step back so that you can be able to, like 3 sticks. I don't know if you played the 3 sticks game, where the further you go, the extender, the further they will jump and extend the stick, right? And so coming to Dubai now, like we came kidogo, just when we came, COVID happened. And then it was so lucky that because my husband was going for a fundraising trip for our ministry mission in the US, and he got locked in Dubai while he was on his, because he came and said, okay, let me see. Yes. And so when he came, that same, like 2 months, 3 months, we conceived. Then, and that was really scary for me because I'm like, what? Like going to the hospital, they're like, here in Dubai, we cover this medication. It's not, because in Kenya, we had to save for it. Here, we covered the medication, so we were able to get the best treatment and the best medication through that time, being at home, like being pregnant at home, going through all that. Like, I can only say it's God, Trisha. Trisha, like that is a testimony that God never fails. Like if we check tomorrow, the day, like sometimes it's just dark. You can't see even any light coming in. But for me, I always look back and just say, Yani God. Then I got the first child. Then when my grandparents used to say, when you're breastfeeding, you can't get pregnant. Ask me.
Lo and behold,
I got Wangari. My mother.
Oh, she's my namesake.
Yes. We got Wangari Kena. And so we got these 2 children. Then right after we got these 2 children, we felt God is calling us now to go back. Go back and start serving God. Yani, I held that baby in my hand and I felt strongly in my heart that God is now saying, now it's time to go back. Go back to serving God's people. Joan, go back to working with the women. Go back. And so remember when I was telling you, when doors start shutting, you won't even need affirmation. The day I went back for maternity after my second child, whoa, things left, right, and center, like things are just not working out. I was a high-flying corporate woman, all that. But after that, things just were not just making sense. And I'm wondering what? I've not changed. I'm still hardworking. I'm still doing. But some of these things are signs from God to say,
closing
now
that door. That season is over.
And that's how I know if I'm in that season or not. And on the same time now, Daniel got the opportunity to be a pastor in a church here in Dubai, because then we were praying. Because I told him when I held the baby, I was like, let me tell you, God, I think, is telling us to go back to ministry. He's like, I've been thinking about that too. Because that's not a topic we've been talking about, because we know how deep we've gone with that and how hard that journey has been. And so hearing him say, God is also telling him the same, well, like, I think we should obey. So let's pray this next year. If he wants to take us to back home to Kenya, if he wants to take us to Cambodia, if he wants to take us to Australia, if he wants to take us wherever, we will go. And so the opportunity opened up here in Dubai. And it's just those points of like, you've been a pastor and you've been around and you're not saying, and you're not,
you've been a backbencher.
We really needed to do that. For us to now be able, for us to serve people wholeheartedly and with the love that we have for people, we really had to go through that. Yeah. And so that's the testimony. So after the child, to be honest, I honestly feel like not only the skills and expertise that I have gained, that now I'm able to even relaunch bigger to helping women with a more grand scale, but also we limited God from a point of God. How will we be able to afford these children? Like in terms of getting the child. Not even now, there's the upbringing part, which I'll come back here 10 years later and say how God is faithful, because I know he is faithful, because he's proved himself. But just trusting God that so many things change in this life. The world is changing. People change. A lot of things change. Marriages come. They break. Relationships break. People die, you know. But the one thing that has not changed is God. He remains the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's the resounding board that I carry myself with. We carry our marriage with. Like there's not a time we say we take pride in anything we have done. That God, here we are. Send us. Tell us. If you give us, good. If tomorrow we do not have, we will still praise you. You know? So there's that just resting in who God is.
Wow.
Because we've been in lack. We were not able to afford some of these things. We were in missions where we sleep in tents. We stay there. But the purpose of doing that work
is where you got your joy and
and
life.
healing and life and all that. So yeah, so
Wow.
I mean, now there's an African proverb that says that unless you carry your own bucket of water, you will not understand what each drop means. Because unless you've carried that bucket to the house, then you see someone else doing drops like this, you will know. And me, I know what every drop means, even as I'm walking through with women. Because yes, you said like men go through this identity crisis and all that based on our upbringings and all. But I believe like when a woman is born, there are those disadvantages already we have that sometimes you just need reminders that you are enough, that you can walk in your confidence as a girl on a journey, but a woman also in her weakness. That yes, we all have weaknesses. We all have stories that maybe some of us are not proud of, but you can still stand confidently in that because you don't get confidence in those things, but you get confidence from a higher being, which is God, not your car, not your clothes, because someone can comment on your clothes and your confidence, down. Yeah.
Love it. Wow. What a journey. What a story. My gosh, Joanne.
I have not shared this.
Yeah. I mean, that was, your story is, I mean, I've heard bits and pieces of it. Well, a big chunk of it. And I was like, I think your story definitely, a lot of people need to hear it because it's such an inspiration of what a journey you've been through, but also just to see God's faithfulness at every stage and every step of your life and your marriage. And even as we land this conversation, looking back at the almost 10 years of marriage, 10 years this year, what's one advice that you'd love to give to both ladies and men, either who are in the ebbs and flows of marriage or those who are waiting to get married? And then secondly, what anchoring verse sustained you during those tough seasons?
Wow. First, I think every season has its own verse, but I think the advice that I can give is, so one thing that really has transformed what our marriage is for 10 years is our premarital. Because remember when I was saying like the journey to the marriage was much more harder than the marriage itself. Being a pastor's wife versus preparing to get married to a pastor, is we really needed to get couples who would speak to us from a point of the truth and the realities of marriage. And so because we really struggled with getting the couples to work with us, because either we go to this couple and because they know my husband is a pastor and he's quiet and and I'm the typical
sanguine.
I'm the typical
With the sanguine in the marriage.
And also I know things, like I'm knowledgeable. And maybe that's not the appreciated kind of pastors. Like you need to keep quiet,
Because quietness sometimes
is celebrated.
It's celebrated as submission.
Yes, as submission.
Or rather it's seen as submission.
Yes. And so one of the things, so by the time we landed on a couple, and this is an American couple who I really appreciate. They're called Bill and Jenny. They've stayed in Kenya. By the time we were meeting them, they had stayed maybe for 30 years in Kenya, just doing marriage ministry. And we got to them not as pastor and the future wife, like the other couples, but more of Joan and Kenos. And they were able to see us through that, like, Daniel, this is the role of a husband. Joan, this is the role of the wife. what key roles and responsibilities will you have in this marriage? Let's take your strengths, for example. And some of the things like one of the roles I take is I am the accountant of the home. Whether you are the one with the money or I'm the one with the money, because I know you being a pastor, like the way you gave me 1,000 shillings for the shoes, he gives out like that. Like he would be driven by empathy and he gives a lot. And so how do we plan the giving and how would we plan the future and how do we plan the investments, things like those. So that is me. And for the 10 years, those are the, like, for him to be able to tell me, Joanne, here's my ATM, go to the bank, I've been paid. Go get the money, let's plan, all that. And on the flip side, things like, and I'm saying the typical, for example, husband roles and the typical wife roles. Like for him, he being raised in a pastor's home, he was the one who used to iron clothes for his dad because he was a pastor and for himself because he's a pastor. And it's something that he enjoys. Yeah. I don't like ironing clothes, to be honest. I do not. And so that's one of the things that we established then, that when it comes to, first, if I'm buying clothes, it's rare I buy clothes for ironing. But then now, like, he still finds joy to do it for our children, to do it for us. When we have help, of course, the help will help. But then small things like those, like going to the details of who's going to handle this and who's going to handle this, who's going to handle this and who's going to handle this. Because then if we didn't go through that, everything that we, because that was very specific to who I am and specific to who his strengths and my strength. Because when we walk into the internet, it's like a husband should, a wife should. But should is based on someone's reality that is not yours. So understanding each other from that point of view, that I don't like cooking or something like that, or I don't like wearing heels, and like understanding you as a person and you as a unit. Where can we leverage our strengths? And where do we need help when it's my weakness that for me to tap into that? And that, Trisha, has helped us all through the 10 years of marriage. Because we always go back to that session that, remember, my strength is this. Or remember, because we've been, like, of course, dealing with human beings and dealing with a husband, it's not a perfect marriage, but at least we know we have the structures in place. Because they say you don't rise to the level of your goals and your dreams. You fall to the level of your structure and your systems. So it's a system that was founded on biblical truths, and it's a system that was founded on that, sitting down and understanding. Because sometimes we would tell people like, stop careering our pastor or something like that. Like, stop, but he doesn't get moved.
Stop being too hard.
Stop being too hard.
Our pastor, yeah.
To our pastor, no. But then he's the one who chooses to do those things, And I think that even as I support him, seeing the way he has supported me, like he's my number one fan in everything that I do. Everything. From content to work, to when today I say, I don't feel like working, or, he's like, but Joanne, that is important to you, because if you stay here, you're just going to be a grumpy woman. Just go and do your work, things like those. And it's easier to submit to someone like that, because now there's nothing that he will tell me that I wouldn't say go, because I need to submit as a wife. It's easier to submit to someone who's supportive and who's genuinely loving than someone who probably would be crushing my dreams. You see? So I honestly feel like, for example, if there are husbands watching, like, support your wife's dreams, support your wife's purpose, support them beyond the home, beyond being a mom, beyond her titles, because I think there's a bigger reason why we were created than just being wives or just being moms. Everyone has a reason why they exist, So that's what I coach women through in my little, like, in my coaching practice, is how do you confidently lead in yourself? I call it your personal brand, to be a purposeful human being where you will thrive and get success. And it's not the big things sometimes. It's in your space, what can you do? How can you serve others around you? How can you live a life that is higher than yourself?
Great.
So there's that. Okay. And then the verses that, so I to be honest, I have many verses that have guided me through. Like when I got married, I know, like I keep on telling myself that a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish one with her own hands tears it down. And sometimes it's, you think the wise woman is like that intellectual thinking, and sometimes it's that, how do you talk to your children? How do you talk to your help? How do you even respond to your husband, for example? Is it kind? Because you can be a kind person outside, but inside the home, you're something else. And ministry starts from the home. Your reason for existence as well starts from the home. Yeah. And then going to, like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can, because a lot of things, I told you, one of my values is courage. Because I can confidently stand saying that greater is he that is in me than he who's in the world. Because there's places we walk in and people just size you and look at you like, who is she? In my head, I'm like, I wish you knew who I was. Because I am a child of the King of Kings, the man who owns a cattle on 1,000 sheep, that I will stand as strong as Mount Zion. And those affirmations that we used to memorize all these verses, now when I walk into those spaces, I just say them in my head. I'm like, God, I don't know if that is Romans 3:20 or Romans what, but I know,
this is what you
and I know that I want people to see me and know that there's a God in heaven, that I am glorifying God. I'm not forcing people to join my faith, but I want people to see Christ walking through my life. And how can they see that? Is through living my life to the fullest and showing them that, the dream that God you put in my heart. And everyone says, like, even many Christians say, I have been created to serve God and glorify him. Let's put it a step below. What does that look like in your life? Because you can be hiding in all the faith, but then you're not living a purposeful life that you can say, at least in this world, I made a difference somehow. I told my story to transform someone's life. I made some impact. And that's what I try to decipher, like, okay, let's go beyond the verses. What actions are you living every day that show that you are even a CEO of a company, and using that to just show that this is the life that God created me, not just to just sit and say I'm a faithful person, but doing that in action, because the world has very different people. The world has different people, and even us, we are called to go to that world and succeed and show people that even God's people can succeed. We are the representation of Christ in this world. If you don't show the world that Christians can also have investments, run successful businesses, be corporate career people that can thrive, then who will show them?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have my husband's favorite verse is, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. And I always hear him say that. But then now, like, that's also a resounding, like, okay, I have hope past this world. I have hope that even the people, if I don't see someone here,
there's hope beyond.
There's hope beyond. But then to live.
There's a purpose, and there's a reason behind it. Wow.
Yeah.
What a way to land this conversation. Thank you so much, Joanne. And I want to give you a chance to share with all our audiences where they can find you on social media. You said you run a business. How can they support your business? I know you have some things coming up. I just want to give you a chance to do a shout out for that.
Yes. So I help women and I guide women towards freedom. Freedom to live a life that has financial security, that has a life where you have a voice and you have a choice to lead the life that you want for you, your family, and even your children. And so through this, I run a business called Uniquely Branded, where I coach women through purposeful personal branding for success and for you to thrive in not only who you are, but creating businesses that will help you thrive and succeed. Aside from this, I run a nonprofit called Lulu Thamani, where now we go to rural Kenya and help women who are aspire to be business people, but they don't know where to start because their literacy levels and even their educational levels is not as proficient. And so if you would want to do such kind of work, please link up with me through my page, Lulu Tamani, and we will guide you into how you can also give back to these women in rural Kenya. And my business is called Uniquely Branded, based on Psalms 139 verse 14, where we are all created beautifully and wonderfully, that all of us are unique and we were all made to shine. So that's where you can find me. And my personal profiles, everywhere it's Joan Mwende Kenos. On LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, everywhere you will find me. Yes, so...
Great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Joan, for just being vulnerable today and sharing your story with us. I really do hope that for our viewers today, you've been encouraged, you've been inspired, been challenged, and hopefully transformed by the conversation that we've had today, and that you are living with at least one or two things from today's conversation that will challenge your perspectives and just how you see and view life. That's it for today. Thank you for being sticking with us till the very end of this conversation. I do celebrate each one of you. Thank you to all our new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please join the 360 Perspective family as you continue to inspire, challenge, and just transform through the conversations that we have here. But until next time, it is a goodbye from us. Bye.